All right, we'll get things started. I know folks will still join us as we go along. Welcome, everyone. We're thrilled to have you join us for this information session about Explore Bowdoin. My name is Emily Almus. I'm the Director of Admissions here at Bowdoin, and I'm joined by one of my fantastic colleagues. I'll allow him to introduce himself.
Hi, thank you, Emily. So, hi, everyone. My name is Armando Hernandez. I use he, him pronouns. I'm one of the admissions officers here at Bowdoin College. It's a pleasure to have you here with us today to talk about Explore Bowdoin, the application process, and also just a little bit about Bowdoin College, too, at the same time.
Looking forward to a great conversation. We'll get things kicked off with some information about Bowdoin. So, what Armando just said, we'll talk a little bit about the college, what you need to know, and then we'll transition to talking about the Explore Bowdoin program, including what you might expect and how to apply. There is closed captioning available if you make use of the button at the bottom of your screen. There's also a question and answer function. So, Armando is going to be in that question and answer answering as many of your questions as we can get to. We'll also probably, if time allows, have some live Q&A and conversation and discussion of the things that are on your mind. So please make sure to make use of that question and answer. And we look forward to spending the next hour or so with you. So looking forward to some good conversation. So let's get started by talking about Bowdoin. And if you're less familiar with us, that's probably where we should start. How to pronounce our name. A little trick here rhymes with explodin. So Bowdoin College rhymes with explodin knowledge. A good way to remember that. But Bowdoin is a liberal arts and sciences college located in beautiful Brunswick, Maine. And we think we offer students a lot of great ways to connect with each other, knowledge, and the world. So, a quick little introduction as we get started. We were founded in 1794 and have nearly 2,000 students on campus. It's the kind of place where most people walk from side to side of campus. There's paths, as you can see, beautiful buildings. We're a place that really takes place as a central theme. So, our location in Maine is very important to us. We're very connected to the coast of Maine and what it means to be in our geographic location, as well as community. You might be wondering, what's a liberal arts college? It might be a kind of institution that's less familiar to you. So I think it's important to start there. To understand Bowdoin, you really need to understand liberal arts and sciences colleges. There are some common features between liberal arts colleges. One is the breadth of curriculum. So at a place like Bowdoin, you're going to take courses that encourage you to learn across disciplines. You're going to be inherently interdisciplinary, and we'll get into the different areas of study a little bit later, but it's important to note that that kind of exploration is a big part of what you'll find at Bowdoin. You'll find small classes and faculty who are at Bowdoin not just to do incredible scholarship and research, but because they want to be teachers and they want to be mentors and advisors and get to know you. Those are small classes, fewer than 20 students on average. We're highly residential, so nearly all of our students live on campus by choice for all 4 years. That sense of community is a big part of who we are. And when you graduate, by the way, that alumni network also really embraces that notion of community. Students study a variety of fields, including STEM. So, the full title would be Liberal Arts and Sciences College, but oftentimes people just say Liberal Arts College for short. But most of all, students do a lot of research. We fund research on our campus throughout the academic year, but especially in the summer. I think at the latest count I saw, it was, over something like over $1 million worth of research projects happening every summer on our campus. And that kind of experience, that residential emphasis, that small class size, the opportunities to do research or be in a mentored experience with a faculty member, those close relationships, they translate really well to the postgraduate opportunities our students have. A Bowdoin education and experience is not just about learning some kind of content, it's about the skills that position you well for any numbers of careers, right? It's about critical thinking, analytical thinking. It's about communication skills and leadership. And these are the kinds of skills that are in demand by employers in any number of industries, but also position students really well for graduate and professional school too. So we'll talk a little bit about that. Let's geographically situate you for just a minute. So we're in Maine. Yep, right up there. Maybe you have some Mainers on the call with us today. Maybe you're coming from or listening from a different side of the country or even a different country. But I think one of the great things about our location is, we're a place that embraces four different wonderful seasons. And I think we attract students who are oftentimes attracted to the sort of ethos of places like Maine. So, students who are excited about the opportunity to be challenged, people who are eager for a new kind of experience, people who are excited by the notion of maybe being able to take advantage of the outdoors and the natural world. People who aren't afraid to fail, right? These are all the different kinds of attributes and traits you might find in a Bowdoin student. And those students come from all over. So our students come from all over the United States to Brunswick. In fact, they come from all over the world to Brunswick as well. And it's really nice that we have this microcosm community of different experiences and perspectives and ideas on our campus. And not just among our students, but also among our faculty and staff and the town that we're in, the town of Brunswick. About 30 minutes or so down the road is Portland. That's the largest city in the state of Maine. It is creative and artsy and vibrant. It has, very well-known cultural scenes. I think Portland offers a lot as a smaller city, and it's very accessible to us in Brunswick, which is again about, I don't know, 30 minutes away. And Brunswick's a town of about 25,000. So you have the walkable Brunswick right next door, and then the much larger but still relatively small city of Portland just down the road. Portland's also where you'll find an airport, lots of access to sort of the amenities of a larger city nearby. So I share with you this quote offered up by one of our first or our first president. And I think it's really important because I think part of understanding Bowdoin is understanding what's important and valuable to us. One of our, founding values is this notion of the common good. So we think it's important that students and faculty, staff, alumni embrace the idea that, life should have purpose and meaning, and that Bowdoin should exist not just to educate these wonderful, smart students, but also to have a positive impact on an impact on the communities that they serve or they're engaged in or a part of, wherever that might be, anywhere in the world. And the common good is interpreted in lots of different ways by lots of different people. It looks like different things. It means a respectful community dialogue in the classroom. It means an emphasis and awareness of things like kindness and empathy. It means alumni who are doing really cool, amazing things in all different kinds of fields, having an impact on all different kinds of people. But I think this notion of the common good, it's something that is really important to us and that is a uniting thread among the Bowdoin community, but also our alumni as well. So when we think about the Bowdoin experience, I think that that theme of the common good, the theme of curiosity, of kindness, of empathy really comes through in lots of different places. And one of the ways that we see it oftentimes is in the academic experiences of our students. And our students are studying lots of different things, right? Nearly half of Bowdoin students have declared a double major. You can see here some of our more popular majors, though everything that we offer because we do it well. So really popularity is just informational. It's not a list of preference. And that I think is a reflection of the interdisciplinary approach you'll find at Bowdoin in the liberal arts, right? We want students to take courses in lots of different disciplines, and it's not uncommon for students to have interests in many different areas and fields. We think that's great, and we think that's an important part of how students are going to be able to go on to be creative, innovative, to solve problems that face the world. So it's an important sort of element of the work that we do. We have more than 40 different academic departments and programs. Some are listed here. And students will often combine these in new and interesting ways and go on to all sorts of different kinds of careers. So one of the things I would leave you with is this understanding of the true interdisciplinary nature of the work that happens at Bowdoin in and outside of the classroom. And, that classroom, of course, is not the only place where intellectual pursuits happen. Experiences are occurring all across campus, whether that is in faculty-mentored research or fellowships, whether that is in study away or study abroad experiences, whether that is in our sophomore boot camp program, which has nothing to do with physical activity and everything to do with preparing for career and life beyond Bowdoin. There's many different ways that we support academic and intellectual pursuits. One of the ways that we really encourage that cross-disciplinary breadth of study is through our distribution requirements. So we ask students to take courses in each of 5 different areas, not specific classes. We don't mandate that. We do say take a writing seminar, please, but we ask you to take a class, for example, in the visual and performing arts. Which class you take, your choice, but we want everyone exposed to that discipline, those disciplines and ways of thinking, just as one example. The faculty are really, central to the work that happens in the classroom at Bowdoin. And I mentioned small class sizes earlier. I mentioned the culture of Bowdoin, which I think is really important. But that experience extends not just to the classroom, of course, it extends far beyond it. Sometimes quite literally, here are some students along our coast doing work with a faculty member, but also figuratively. Our faculty are advisors, whether it is a liberal arts advisor you receive as a very first year student, or whether it's an advisor in a major or majors you might have declared in the spring of your second year. There are lots of different ways that I think our faculty embrace what it means to be a residential liberal arts college, and that's a really special part of the Bowdoin experience. So we've talked a lot about the classroom, we've talked a lot about intellectual opportunities, we've talked a lot about the ways that we support that. But there are also a lot of supports that happen outside the classroom, and the resources that we provide students that cover lots of different aspects of your experience at Bowdoin. We want you to feel as supported as possible while you're on campus and prepared for when you leave. And there are many different ways that we do that. Here are some listed here. It's not all inclusive. There are other resources and people that are on campus that exist to support our students. But I do want to highlight just a few for a minute to talk about what some of our wonderful colleagues across campus do. So one resource I want to mention is the Baldwin Center for Learning and Teaching. The Baldwin Center offers programs like tutoring, peer mentorship, writing support, coaching sessions, study groups. All of these are without charge to students. They work with students, staff, and faculty to think about how we can improve the learning experience on campus and how do we support students both when they're at their most successful and when they're finding things challenging and need support. And so it's a range of resources for students during their time at Bowdoin. Another a resource I would mention is Thrive. Thrive serves as the home base for students who are first in their family to attend college. It offers a number of resources, including peer mentorship, support, opportunities for social gatherings, to bring students together who might be navigating the college experience for the first time in their family. And so I think these are some of the resources that we offer students, but knowing that people at Bowdoin really care about you. If you come to Bowdoin, it's not just your peers who are going to care about you in the classroom or your faculty. It's the entire community that wants you to be successful and really thrive, no pun intended, to the center on campus when you're here. And to that end, something else that I would mention is our digital excellence commitment. We started this a few years ago. I think we might be the only school in the country that does this, but don't quote me on that part. What I do know, though, is that every student, when they arrive on campus, receives a MacBook Pro, an iPad, an Apple Pencil, some software, and that is yours to use while you're a student at Bowdoin during those 4 years. And then, of course, you actually get to keep it when you graduate. The notion here is that we want to make sure every student has the tools they need to be successful when they're a student. And we want every student to be able to take any class on campus they might be interested in without worrying about whether they have the right computer or the necessary software to participate in that class. It is about educational equity, regardless of your financial circumstances, and about innovation and collaboration in the classroom. And so our faculty know when they walk into a classroom that every student in that room has access to the same tools. And that's really important. It allows really exciting work to happen. So you might find on our campus lots of great stickers. We mentioned the decorating part. A lot of our students love to decorate their tech, but I think it's an important element. We also are thinking about technology and the future of technology. So just a few weeks ago, we announced a new initiative, a very generous gift by one of our alumni, Reed Hastings, who's the founder of Netflix, for $50 million to support an initiative on the future of humanity and AI. And this is another example of how our broader community thinks about having a positive impact and giving back, but also some really interesting ways we're thinking about the world and the future on our campus here at Bowdoin. So let's talk a little bit about that future and what our students do when they're done with their time. After they graduate, our students go on to any number of different kinds of careers. Certainly, some students choose to go on to live out that mission of the common good. By no means is it everyone. All of our graduates have, I think, the sort of grounding in the common good, but go into different disciplines and industries. But certainly, several every year go into fields that relate to public service, making an impact on others. Of course, we have many graduates who either have founded or sit on the boards of or work for some of the most impactful organizations on earth and companies on earth. And I think this is where you see the flexibility and adaptability of a Bowdoin education. Our students graduate creative and with vision and a sense of purpose. And that's, I think, a really effective way to be a contributor in any number of industries. And then, of course, many of our students graduate and go on to graduate or professional study. It's about 20% or so in recent classes right after Bowdoin, and then that number goes up if you look at students who've gone back to graduate or professional school a few years after that. But I think our students are also well prepared for graduate and professional school because of those academic experiences we were talking about, right? So small classes, ample research opportunities, a really rigorous curriculum, a classroom environment where your intellectual contributions are expected and respected. I think these opportunities prepare our students really well. All right, so that was a really quick introduction to Bowdoin. We're going to switch gears and talk a little bit now about Explore Bowdoin, the program that you came today to learn a little bit more about, including how to apply to Explore Bowdoin and what you might expect at Explore Bowdoin. And then just a heads up, if you have questions that we aren't unfortunately able to get to, you're always welcome to send us an email, and we'll be happy to answer them for you. So now that you've learned a little bit about Bowdoin, let's talk a little bit about the Explore Bowdoin program. So what is Explore Bowdoin? Explore Bowdoin is a program bringing high school seniors who live and go to high school in the U.S. To campus to experience life at Bowdoin for a few days. We typically invite about 70-ish students or so for each of our two programs. We'll get into the dates a little bit later. And we cover the logistics and costs of getting to campus. We welcome applications from any student who's going to high school in the US, especially encouraging students who are first in their family and or might identify as low income. This program is really designed for students who might otherwise not be able to visit campus, and we look forward to welcoming these students to campus every year. So how do you actually get here? What happens? So we cover your travel costs. So you get yourself to your local airport or train station or bus station, and we get you here. If you're flying, that might include a plane ticket or might be an Amtrak or some student's bus, depending on where you're joining us from. We actually arrange for and pay for your round trip travel from your local transportation hub to near us. That might mean Boston, or it might mean Portland, depending on where you're coming from and going to. I mentioned we have an airport in Portland as well. We actually have a Amtrak stop station about 2.5 blocks off campus. So that is also a really great, convenient aspect of where our location is. Once you arrive on that transport, we will pick you up and get you to Maine or get you to Brunswick, depending on where you're coming from, and take care of all that transportation to and from, the airport or the train station, again, wherever you might be. We also have a staff who are amazing and here to help. So if you run into any snafus or if you have any questions, don't worry. Our Explore Bowdoin staff are really excited to welcome you to campus. We're all really excited to welcome you to campus. And so, what might you expect at Explore Bowdoin itself? It is a busy 2 days. It is super fun. You're going to have a great time. It's a little bit choose your own adventure. There's a lot of things that happen. All students have an opportunity to stay in a dorm with a current student. So you'll have an opportunity to really get a taste of what is it like to be a student at Bowdoin. You'll eat in our dining hall. All of your meals are covered by the college. You can attend a selection of classes. You can go on a field trip to our Schiller Coastal Study Center and see the Atlantic Ocean, or make use of some of the really cool research facilities out there, see some of the cool marine biology research that's happening. Maybe you want to go on a hike. We'll hope you'll do an admissions interview and learn more about the admissions process and meet with our financial aid staff. And you'll even get to hear from our Dean of Admissions as well. And then, of course, there's all the important student life pieces, right? So we didn't talk a lot about it earlier, but student life at Bowdoin is incredibly robust. We have more than 100 different student clubs and organizations. They span sort of every imaginable interest from government and politics, the arts, music, theater, shared interests, affinity groups, shared identities, religious life, you name it. There's probably a club here at Bowdoin that's involved in it. And so one of the great things about coming for Explore Bowdoin is you have an opportunity to really get a sense of that, right? And meet fellow students and have an opportunity to, I know it's the name and it's kind of cheesy, but explore Bowdoin for 2 or 2.5 days. And the other great thing is you get to do it with fellow high school seniors who are also exploring Bowdoin for the first time. And I think that also is a really big piece of the Explore Bowdoin program that's so lovely. So I wanted to give you some highlights, some pictures of prior Explore Bowdoin programs, to tell you a little bit more about it. So these are some students, Explore Bowdoin students at the Schiller Coastal Studies Center. And the Schiller Coastal Studies Center is one of our research facilities. It's about 15 minutes away from our main campus here in Brunswick. And it's incredible. It's a great place to go to do research in the sciences and take coursework related to things like the coast or the environment. We have a really robust and historic environmental studies program at Bowdoin, as well as programs and coursework in areas such as Arctic studies and coastal studies. So it's really fun to go out there, not just for academic purposes, though, for recreational purposes. And so here are some students on a prior year Explore Bowdoin taking advantage of that. And of course, when they're at Schiller, they also had an opportunity to take a peek in our research labs here, which is great. And you could see some students here looking at starfish in one of our tanks, but another example of the kind of experience you might have. Something else that you'll get to do when you're on campus for Explore Bowdoin is have a residential experience and get to learn about those resources we talked about earlier. So you'll have a current student host who will tell you about their life and experience at Bowdoin. And they're a really great resource to hear from a current student. And then you'll get to explore those student life opportunities, supports, and student organizations that we had mentioned. Of course, there's also programming related to the admissions process and what you need to know. But I also want to make sure to mention the classroom. As an Explore Bowdoin student, you'll have the opportunity to sit in on classes, which I think is a great. There's a selection of courses that will make available to you that you can select from. And I think this is one of the really strong benefits of coming for this program. All right. We spent a lot of time, you've spent a lot of time listening to me talk. So if you're interested in pursuing this opportunity, what might you need to know about how to apply for the Explore Bowdoin program? If you haven't applied already, if you've already applied, great, great news, you're learning more. But if you haven't applied yet, the application deadline is August 12th, 2025. The two programs this year will be offered September 18th to 20th, 2025, and October 16th through 18th, 2025. When you apply, if you apply to Explore Bowdoin, we'll ask you to complete a form that includes a variety of different kinds of information. So we'll ask you to share information about the courses that you plan to take as a 12th grader or senior in high school. We'll ask you to submit a transcript that includes your grades through grade 11, so the complete year of your 11th grade or junior year. You can submit this transcript yourself. You don't need anyone to submit it on your behalf for the Explore Bowdoin program. If you end up applying to Bowdoin, we'll ask you to have a school official submit that transcript. And then there's two short answers that are, an opportunity to tell us more about why this opportunity speaks to you. Bowdoin has been test optional since 1969 in our admissions practices. We're the first test optional college in the United States, and we're also test optional in the Explore Bowdoin application process. So you have a choice of whether to submit test information to us. If you do submit it, we will look at it. We're not test free, so just a heads up there, but we are test optional. It's truly your choice. And we also offer students the optional video response. This is something that you can do were you to apply to Bowdoin as a student for admission to the college. But simply put, you're given a prompt and we ask you in about 2 minutes to respond to it on camera. You can do it on a phone, on an iPad, on a laptop or a computer. You can do it on your own device or a device in like a library or school or community center. You don't need to have your own device to do this. The same goes for the application, by the way. You can complete that on any number of devices that might work, ranging from a phone to a tablet to a computer itself. You just need a keyboard to be able to fill out forms and internet access to hit submit. The application will take probably like half an hour to an hour to complete, and you're not able to save it as you go along. So you'll want to make sure that you're thinking about that when you're going to submit the application itself. We ask that you submit all of your materials by that August 12th deadline, and then we'll get back to students by the end of August with a decision about their application. And then for students who are selected to participate in the program, we'll begin the process and we'll be in touch with you about all of that travel information that we talked about in terms of making the arrangements for you to get to campus for one of our Explore Bowdoin programs. All right, that was a lot of information. I'm thrilled we have time for about 15 minutes of Q&A. I'm going to turn off my presentation here and invite my colleague Armando back to the screen, and we're going to tackle some of your questions about the Explore Bowdoin program, and we'll get those started. So I see first a question, the application is for rising seniors, correct? Absolutely correct. So the Explore Bowdoin program is for seniors in high school. So if you just finished your junior or 11th grade in high school and you're rising into your senior year, that's when you'll be applying this summer before you start your senior or grade 12 year this fall. So the program is for grade 12 students, and presumably those are students who are, applying for college admissions the same year as well. I see another question here about submitting the video. Great question. You don't actually submit a video when you submit the application. It's after you submit the application that you have the option to do the video response. And something I want to note here, I think it's just important to call out, it's not a video that you need to produce. You don't have to worry about borrowing a camera from someone and go record some fancy production somewhere. It is not anything that you're submitting as a production. It is a video just response to a prompt. So you're absolutely correct, the person who asked this question. After you apply and submit your application, you'll have the option to answer that optional video response. There's some questions here about applying for one or both dates, we will consider a student for whichever programs they indicate they are able to participate in. So if you are able to participate in both programs, we'll consider you for both programs. If you're only able to participate in one program, we'll only consider that one program for you. So if you have more flexibility, it expands the number of programs we can consider you for, but you shouldn't indicate you can participate in a program if you are not able to participate in that program. So reflect your dates there accurately as much as possible. There's a question about changes to the application, whether that's just a student's financial circumstances or any other information in their application. What should they do or how do they do it? Yeah, absolutely. You're always welcome to send us an email with an update, and we can attach that information to your Explorer Bowdoin materials. If there's something important that you want us to know that's different or has changed, please let us know, and that is totally fine. Um, Let me go through it. We're having a lot of application questions coming in, which is great. Um, in the event of a scheduling conflict, I don't know where that question went, but I saw it a minute ago. What is the policy? Right. So after you're selected for Explore Bowdoin, we'll reach out to you and say, "Great news! Awesome! You've been selected to participate in." And this is an example: Explore Bowdoin 1, September 18th through 20th. If for some reason something has changed between the time that you applied and you're offered this participation, you can let us know at that point that you're not able to participate. We hope that's not the case. That's not common that that happens, but we understand sometimes things do change or happen. So at that point, you would be able to do that. A question here about traveling with family members and would family members, and I'm sorry, Armando, I'm just going rapid fire here. I haven't even called on you yet. I'm going to call on you in a minute, I promise. Are families able to travel with us and visit with you when you have a moment of free time? Unfortunately, not. So this program is very, jam-packed with activities. There's not a lot of free time, and it's focused really on students. So unfortunately, family members aren't able to travel with you or participate in the program. But certainly we would love to share more virtually, perhaps, with your family members about Bowdoin, and why it might be a great match for you. All right, I'm going to turn, we're focused here on Explore Bowdoin. We'll come back to some Explore Bowdoin questions, but I want to turn to Armando and ask you a general question I think I've seen a few times here.
Mhm.
Student wondering, student life, can students start their own club? How does that work?
Yeah, good question, Emily. Yeah, so students can have the opportunity to start a club. So our student activities office works really closely with a lot of students to see if there is a club that they're interested in starting, especially if it's something that they don't see that they want to start. Usually they work with them to let them know these are the number of students you need to make, as well as walking them through the process of what they need to do, acquiring funding, working with the Bowdoin student government, as well as just making sure all the resources and faculty and support and staff is there to assist them along the way. I made a comment to one of the questions earlier that actually, fun fact, one of our summer interns this year, her name is Eva. She's actually starting her club on campus and is starting next fall semester. It's going to be a flag football club.
Oh, I was going
Um,
to ask what Eva was starting. Oh, nice. Okay.
yeah, she started
Cool.
the flag football club. So good opportunity for her, but also the opportunity for other Bowdoin students to be involved in a sport like that. And she got a lot of support through student activities and Bowdoin student government to get the funding for those ventures as well. We also do have a makerspace if students are interested in using it as well to answer the specific question too.
Great. Well, and one of the things about Explore Bowdoin, if you're able to join us for that program, is you'll have a chance to get a real sense of all of these different student groups. You'll have time to explore different activities that are happening on campus. Certainly, your student host will be able to share with you the opportunities they are involved in. If you're not able to join us for Explore Bowdoin, I think there are a few different ways you can also get that experience. So we have a number of virtual programs throughout the fall, including student-to-student chats where you have an opportunity to learn more, and hear from current students, sort of unfiltered, right, about their experiences. Maybe Eva will even be on one of those student chats. But so I encourage you, Explore Bowdoin or not, to take advantage of the different resources that are out there in terms of getting to know more about Bowdoin and Bowdoin culture and experience. There's a question here about if you apply to Explore Bowdoin, do you hear earlier a decision about an application if you end up applying to Bowdoin College for admission? It does not impact your admissions decision notification timeline. So in terms of the admissions process to Bowdoin, we offer three different rounds of admission. We have early decision one, which is November 15th deadline. You hear back by mid-December. We have early decision two, which is January 5th, and you hear back by end of February. And then we have regular decision, also January 5th, and you hear back by the beginning of April. Those early decision rounds were you to apply to admission at Bowdoin are binding. Regular decision is not, of course. And were you to apply to Explore Bowdoin, you would not have a different timeline for the admissions process at all. So good question. I know things are different and want to highlight that. There's a question here about the interview. So one part of the Explore Bowdoin program is an opportunity for an interview. And since you're on campus, that will be in person with one of our community members. But we also do, just as an aside, if you're not selected for this program or elect not to apply or are just interested, we do offer a variety of different kinds of interviews for rising high school seniors and high school seniors now through the beginning of December functionally. And there are different ways you might take advantage of an interview opportunity. Lots of great information available on our website. And so that includes virtual interview opportunities, interview on opportunities on campus with a member of our team, whether that's a student, staff member, or an admissions officer. And then starting later this fall, throughout the fall, will be opportunities to interview virtually with an alum, a member of our graduates. So a few different ways to take advantage of an opportunity to interview, whether that's on campus as part of Explore Bowdoin or whether that's in a different context. There's a question here about how many students are selected each session, and does it matter what major you might be interested in? I'll start with the latter part because this is a good question generally about Bowdoin. It does not matter. We do not admit to the college by major, nor do we admit to programs by your major, right? We know that your interests might change. And from the time that you apply to Bowdoin to the time that you enroll, you might decide to have a different area of study that excites you. All students start at Bowdoin as undecided students. You can certainly come in with a specific area of study in mind or a passion. Maybe you love philosophy and physics. That's awesome. We want to support that. But you won't actually declare your major till the spring of your second year. You can still take those philosophy and physics classes starting your first year, but you won't actually declare your major to spring of second year. And so both for admission and for Explore Bowdoin, we do not admit students to the program or the college by major. We roughly have 70 or so student participants, excuse me, in each of our two Explore Bowdoin sessions. All right. Some questions here about QuestBridge. Always great to see. We are a QuestBridge partner school at Bowdoin. And so you can apply to Bowdoin through the QuestBridge match. We often have students who are also participating in the Explore Bowdoin program who are also going through the QuestBridge program. And we have a number of students on campus who are part of QuestBridge and Quest Scholars and the Quest Scholars Network. So certainly if you're joining us for Explore Bowdoin, you'll have an opportunity to get to know more and hear more about QuestBridge on campus. But either way, know that that is a community that is alive and well at Bowdoin, and we have lots of resources, including on our website, to help you connect with other resources there on campus. There's a question here about prior visits to campus. So we are seeking to really support students who have not yet had a chance to come and visit campus. We ask on the application if you've had a chance to come and visit. But all students are welcome to apply to Explore Bowdoin, whether you have or have not visited campus before. There's some questions about financial aid, which I think is great because one of the things we haven't had a chance to really talk about this evening or wherever time it may be where you are, could be morning, afternoon, is financial aid. So, few things that are really important to know about Bowdoin. One is we take the idea that we're a place where we attract and support and nurture smart, kind people from all around the earth to solve the world's, biggest challenges really seriously. And what that means in practice is we are need blind in our admissions process. That means we don't make admissions decisions on the basis of a student's financial need. We also meet full need. So we meet a student's full financial need with a financial aid award if you've applied for financial aid. We do that without loans. So you might have heard the term before, loan free. That is a term that applies to Bowdoin. So we don't put loans in financial aid awards. And we have a really awesome student aid office that works with students throughout this process who may have questions or concerns. So a few things I would encourage you to do. One is to make use of all the resources on the student aid website, including things like a net price calculator, where you can find out about what kinds of great need-based financial aid you might receive at Bowdoin. One is to know that you have the student aid office available to you as a resource if you have questions. And one is to know that as part of the Explore Bowdoin program, you'll actually have an opportunity to meet with the financial aid office or student aid office as well. So a few important things to keep in mind with that. All right, here. Um, some questions about uh, exploring student life. I think we've talked about that there. Some questions about well, here's a question actually. Armando, there's a question about the performing arts community. Can
Mhm.
you spend a word or spend a minute just talking about the arts at Bowdoin? This person specifically asking about dance, but
Yeah.
how might someone be involved in the arts at Bowdoin?
Yeah, good question, Emily. Yeah, so the way are here at Bowdoin is that, so obviously students who are maybe specifically interested in the arts obviously have the opportunity to pursue it as an academic interest in that regard. But let's say if maybe you don't want to specifically study that, maybe you want to do environmental studies, government and legal studies, but still like the performing arts in whatever way possible, students can still take advantage of it. We have a lot of student clubs on campus, such as Mask and Gown, which is a theater-led production club as well as some other like dance clubs that we have on campus for students to partake in. You do not have to major or minor to participate in these at all. I say that because an example I could think of one of our head tour guides who's going to be this year. Her name is Francesca. She's a government and legal studies major. She was actually a part of the Mask and Gown Club, and she performed in two of the theater productions that they hosted last year, one in the fall and one in the spring. The fall one was Into the Woods for that theater production. So as you can tell, there are a lot of students who are engaging with the arts in a lot of different ways here at Bowdoin. Whether it is something that they are truly passionate in, that they want to study, or just something for fun they like to do on the side. I always like to say for Bowdoin students that regardless of what they're majoring in, they're always pursuing a club or an activity that they're really interested in, because that's what they're passionate about and they want to continue to cultivate throughout their time here too. So it is possible to do that, to do dance as well as do all the other things you want to do too.
Yeah, I think a really robust arts community. And part of it, I think, is that because every student, as part of our distribution requirements, has to take a class in the visual and performing arts, everyone on campus has a vested interest in the arts, among other things, too, right? Everyone on campus takes a class in something related to international perspectives. So these are just big themes that I think bring our students together, but whether it's in the academic arena or outside of it as a extracurricular, if you will. I think the arts, including dance, very supported on campus. The other thing I would mention too is, Bowdoin's a place where people show up for one another, right? I remember my first year of working at Bowdoin, I'm not a graduate. I would run into some of our students on campus, and I would say, "Oh, Sadie, where are you off to?" And this now alum would say, "Oh, I'm going to this thing, or I'm doing this thing." And I remember saying, like, "Oh, I didn't know you were into that." And she said back, "Oh, I'm not, but my roommate is, or my classmate is, or I met somebody on campus who is." So I think there is a culture of people showing up for one another in their interests, and I think that is so valuable and important, right? If you go into our dining hall, and dining at Bowdoin is amazing, it's wonderful. We have two main dining halls. We also have a cafe and a grill and a convenience store. But most students eat nearly all of their meals in the main dining halls. These big tables, right? You go in. You see faculty and staff and students sitting at these long tables, having these great conversations, talking about their interests and what they're learning. And I think it's a really powerful visual symbol of the community on our campus and the culture on our campus. So hopefully you have an opportunity to join us at Explore Bowdoin and get a little bit of a taste of that as well. There's a question about engaging with faculty as well as class visits during Explore Bowdoin. Yes, absolutely. You'll have an opportunity to interact with faculty vis-a-vis the class visits or other programming. Certainly, there's a question if you would be participating or sort of spectating. I think depends on the class. I would leave it up to you and the professor. I would say go in with a mindset of spectate and see if it turns into participate based on the professor's request or invitation. I think it'll depend by the class, the professor, and the topic, but I think faculty at Bowdoin are incredibly friendly, welcoming, and inviting, and so it's a good opportunity to get to know them as well. All right, I'm just skimming through because I know we probably don't have that much time left. There's some questions about, how to answer the short answer questions, and do they need to be elaborative, reflective, or straightforward? This is some of the language from one of our questions that was submitted. I think the answer to that is probably yes and no. Write an answer that feels true to you. I think that's what's important. What we want to know, we want to get to know you. And so we know also at the same time that they are incredibly short, right? We're talking 100 to 250 words. There's not a lot you can fit into 100 to 250 words. And so, be true to who you are. Should you wish to, you can also take advantage of opportunities like the video response. There was a question I saw submitted. Someone asked if there was like a preference for that. No, it's optional. It's truly optional. But I always encourage students, whether it's the Explore Bowdoin application or any application to any college or university, if there are opportunities to share more of yourself, consider taking advantage of them. We want to get to know you better, so we're hoping to hear your voice. We also are totally aware that you're very busy people and that you have limited space on these forms. So hopefully that's a little bit reassuring, if nothing else, that we understand there's not a lot of room to write a lot in these places as well. The person who asked earlier about the timeline on decisions submitted more info and clarified what they meant. Thank you to that questioner. The question was actually about whether you heard back earlier on your Explore Bowdoin application if you applied earlier in the timeline or if you've already applied. No. So the deadline, just to repeat, because I think I saw this a few places in here, the deadline to submit your application for Explore Bowdoin is August 12th. And then we will release decisions for Explore Bowdoin at the end of August. We don't release them in a rolling fashion. We don't make different decisions based on when you applied before August 12th. Just apply by August 12th, please. And then we'll review your materials as part of that process. Let me see, there are a lot of questions coming in here, and a lot of great questions about Bowdoin specifically. I want to do a quick shout out for some of our upcoming virtual events. So we have a Bowdoin information session called Bowdoin Basics. You can find the latest one or the most upcoming one or the one that works with your schedule on our website in the Visit Us section under virtual visits. We also have several thematic programs coming up. Students Chat, I already mentioned once, but other programs and sessions throughout the summer and fall, all about Bowdoin. So take advantage of those if you wish. They're a great opportunity to learn more about Bowdoin specifically. Any words of wisdom as students are thinking about the application for Explore Bowdoin, Armando, what would you wish that they would know, or what would you share with them?
Good question. I'd say, I think it's always to be authentic and genuine in who you are in the presentation you're showing us. Both, I think, in a lot of variety of ways, both in the writing that you submit to us, as well as the extracurricular activities that you choose to present to us, right? Because we want to get to know and see how you are, both what you want to pursue for your intellectual curiosity, but also get a sense of how you are in the community. Are you someone who is always a leader there, or are you someone who is actively involved and loves to be the supportive member of a big team? We really want to see that all throughout. And I think it always will vary for students about what roles they play in, but just be authentic and genuine in who you are and make sure you sprinkle that all throughout the application.
That's great advice. A pro tip I have, this might seem really silly, is oftentimes, well, not oftentimes, sometimes students will use acronyms, especially when it comes to like their activities, the ways they're engaged in the community. Um, know that we don't know every abbreviation and acronym out there. So if you're going to use an acronym for like a club at your high school, please just give us a little bit more information so we know what you're talking about. Something else that I would mention is to not forget about your work and home responsibilities. Maybe you are helping to take care of family members, maybe you work part-time, full-time, whatever it might be, help support the family. Those are substantial commitments. So when we ask about how you spend your time outside of class, you want to be sure to share that. And that goes not just for the Explore Bowdoin application, that also goes for your application to college, Bowdoin or elsewhere. Sometimes students don't think to include some of these activities. They're also big and important activities as well. So that was something I would say. Quick question, Armando. What is your personal favorite aspect or piece or part of the Explore Bowdoin program?
Yeah, I think for me, it's always seeing students come together. I think it's sort of a magic of like bringing people together from all across the country, just to like come together and get to know each other a little bit more. So oftentimes I see students, they come together, they're chit-chatting, and then by the end of the program, they're already immediately friends and they're swapping Instagrams with each other to like stay connected all throughout the application process. So that's a beautiful joy that I see right there. So fostering friendships and community in that regard for students who may have similar experiences or backgrounds in that regard, but also engaging with like the boating community as well. Oftentimes, I hear a lot of students say, current students that talk about, I met this person from Explore Bowdoin. I'm looking forward to seeing them again for any reason, or I'm keeping in contact with them to help them through the application process too. So that's a beautiful friendships are made, as cheesy as that sounds, but truly I am genuine in the sense that that is the magic I think this program really does bring for students in the application process to get connected with our community, but also help them in their journey too as well.
Yeah, I would say the same. I think, every year, so some of my favorite pieces, it's hard to pinpoint just one or two, but I always love sitting down, whether it's the Friday night dinner, Thursday night dinner, whatever it might be, one of the meals, and getting to talk to students and hearing about their experiences and seeing how much students who are meeting for the first time at this college in Maine, and maybe one person's joining us from Los Angeles, and one is there from Chicago, and one is there from Miami, wherever it might be, right? And they are getting to Memphis, getting to experience Maine together. They're getting experience, Bowdoin together. They're getting to meet each other, and the experiences they have with our current students as well. It's I think the community that is so vitally important to us at Bowdoin generally is a really something that comes through, I think, in a lot of different ways in the Explore Bowdoin program as well. All right, we're nearing up on, I think where we're ending in a few minutes here. I just want to rapid fire get through some additional questions. I know there are many questions. There's dozens of them. I can see them in the Q&A that we are unfortunately not able to get to this evening. If your question is one of those, or just in general, you have a question, you can always reach out to the admissions office. The easiest and most direct general email address is admissions@bowdoin.edu. We also have an Explore Bowdoin email address if you have Explore Bowdoin focused questions as well. So you're also welcome to reach out to us that way. But just a few quick things here. Will you be able to meet with admissions people if you come to the Explore Bowdoin program? Yes, and you can also meet admissions people even if you don't come to Explore Bowdoin. You're always welcome to reach out. Our names and faces are on the website. You can always email your regional admissions officer if you have any questions about anything, including Explore Bowdoin, of course. Can you share information about a long commute in the additional information section in a fly-in application? Yes, absolutely. If a long commute is part of your experience, then you're welcome to share that information with us. There's some questions about student aid. Students aren't able to receive a guaranteed admissions award, aid award, or anything like that before applying. But you're welcome to chat with our student aid office about the net price calculator results or other information that you might see. So definitely take advantage of all of the opportunities to connect with our student aid office as well. There's a question here. A student is concerned that they've previously visited it. That has an impact. Again, any student is welcome to apply to the Explore Bowdoin program. Just wanted to mention that again. That's regardless of whether you visited or not. And there was a question earlier I saw also about a student self-identifying as low income. Again, any student is welcome to apply to the Explore Bowdoin program. We're wrapping up. We have about 5 minutes left, or less than 5 minutes, I guess, because this is about the time we're closing down. Armando, last minute, anything you would add or share, any pro tips you would leave our attendees with?
Now I'm trying to think of something other than the word genuine. Um, I guess I would say is sort of similar to a comment that I made previously, is for students to show us, your intellectual curiosity and wanting to pursue different things, whether that's academic interest that you're really passionate in, or just other activities that just bring you joy, whether it is in or outside of your realm of what you might want to do and study in college. I think that's something that a lot of bonus students will tell you and have told me before about how they've just participate in different things because they thought it was fun. Their friends encouraged them to, and now it brings them so much joy. Now they're the leadership or lead part of the leadership team for it. So continue show that to us about how you have that thirst for knowledge and wanting to pursue things while also making a big impact in the community around you. And you can always define community however you would like that too.
Yeah, I was going to add, Bowdoin, I think, really values that community. And so we're excited to get to know prospective students who might want to be a part of that. If you end up applying, or if you've already applied to Explore Bowdoin and end up joining us on campus, we're thrilled to get to know you. If that does not go the route or your journey, know that we're still thrilled to get to know you. And there's lots of different ways to get to know Bowdoin, one of which is the Explore Bowdoin program, but it is one of many different ways that we hope to share Bowdoin with you as well. So with that, I think we're coming up on time. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you, Armando, for joining me. I know we didn't get to all the questions, so feel free to send us an email if you have a question we didn't get to. If you've already submitted your Explore Bowdoin application, awesome. If you haven't, reminder, the application deadline is August 12th, and we look forward to hearing more of your story and getting to know more about you. Thanks, everyone, and have a good evening.